Very well. Now I'm going to show you how to slice the flex spaces. That's right. Here I have two cases, one where we have a unilateral flex and another with a bilateral one. We always position the supports on the outer side of the prosthesis, never on the inner side, because I want a prosthesis that is extremely well adapted to the patient's mucosa. The difference is here, right? What we can do is improve these inclinations so that we can achieve much more precision and above all, use as few supports as possible. To ensure that a prosthesis, for example, a bilateral one, is successful in 3D printing, we always position it at a 45-degree angle with the posterior part down, fixed to the platform, and the lighter parts, which are the clasps in the anterior region, positioned a little higher up. As for the small flex, the really tiny one that's just for a single tooth, I like to leave it slightly inclined, but with the entire buccal side, the whole outer part, supported by supports. Now we're going to show a little bit about the supports. For this type of flex resin, which is a very dense resin, I recommend using either heavy or medium heavy supports. Why is that? Because of the pull force, right? Because of the force that the printer uses to lift the platform. So I always set it to medium heavy, and in the advanced settings, I select that the top of these supports will have the same thickness as the supports gauge. This is the golden tip so that we don't have any failures in our print. I position all of them automatically, meaning the software will determine which are the print islands and which are the critical points that need this primary support. And when I notice that there are still areas that need more, I add more supports. So I come here and keep adding supports to ensure there are no failures in my print. With the small unilateral prosthesis, it's the same thing, right? And notice, since it is practically parallel to the platform, it has a lot more supports than the prosthesis that is tilted at 45 degrees. So I carefully do all of this support work, add a little bit more detail, and then we move on to the slicing process, specifically with our specialized resin, which is for our unique AdaptFlex resin blend. I come here to the settings, slicing settings, and I check here that my resin is Maker's AdaptFlex. I review all the 3D printing parameters, always a layer height of 0.50, 8 base layers, exposure time. In this case, we set it to 9.5, but it can be 10 depending on your printer's power, and the base exposure time is 35 seconds. So now everything is set. I'll apply the settings and slice my files. In other words, the slicer will create the strategy for printing these parts by slicing them into layers. Here I have an overview of how much time and how much resin we're going to use. So we're going to use 14 grams of resin in total volume, and the work time is 3 hours and 12 minutes. But why 3 hours and 12 minutes? Because we have a considerable height. And when we have all this height, we have a greater number of layers. I'm going to save my project, name it and save it to my desktop, transfer it to a flash drive, and start the printing process.